Hello guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the second movie in our Killer Croc week. And tonight we're looking at Alligator. Now this came out I believe in the 80s. This is an Anchor Bay release DVD, contains Alligator plus the second one. It did get a Blu-ray release, but it was quite pricey, and I'm quite happy with that, so I stuck with what I've got. This one is not too dissimilar from Killer Crocodile, really. It starts off at like a zoo where they got like a crocodile, sort of like a feeding part going on, and we got the keeper inside there, and the crocodile attacks the keeper. It grabs hold of his leg and starts attacking to kill this keeper. And it's quite gory. It's quite a gory film actually. And then other keepers come in and start hitting on the crocodile to release the guy, and eventually the crocodile releases the other guy and they pull him out. And at this zoo, that they got a pet, they got a seller there that sells baby crocodiles, and we've got a young girl there who absolutely loves crocodiles, and she wants one of these little crocodiles as a pet. So the mother buys her one. It's only a little baby croc, and so they buy one for her, and they go back home, and we see her at home, and she's got this like fish tank, which is a bit crazy because it's got no water in it or anything. She just kept it in this like with loads of stones and toys, and she's kept this little crocodile in there, and then we see catch up one day. Her dad comes home, I think from work, I don't know, but he's in a bad mood or drunk or whatever, and he's shouting for the young girl, and she's nowhere to be found. So he angrily goes over to the crocodile's tank and picks it up by the tail, still a little baby at this point, and he takes it upstairs and he flushes it down the toilet. And I think that happened quite frequently in the sort of 70s, 80s, normally goldfish and stuff like that. But apparently they were saying in America this thing happened, the sort of thing, people flushing things like that down the down the toilets. And this alligator has made its way to the sewers. It survived its ordeal and its journey down to the sewers, and it's been living in the sewers. It then jumps to 12 years later, and we see this police officer buying a puppy from the pet shop. There's quite famous people in it. I recognise the police officer. I can't remember from where. And the pet shop owner, he was in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Anyway, he buys a puppy and he goes out. And then we see him at this sort of sewage plant where they found a body part. They found an arm. And they're trying to investigate who it was, and also they found leftovers of a dog. So we see this sort of going on at this sort of sewage plant. And then there's an old woman there outside with the police officer talking to it about her dog who's about this big, but when they've come to it, it's now this big, it's huge. So they don't know what's going on. Meanwhile, we catch up with our pet shop owner, and he's on the street chasing stray dogs. Anyway, he catches this golden retriever dog and puts it in the back of his van. And then we cut to a science or drug tablet sort of factory, and this pet shop owner is collecting these stray dogs for this place to do experiments on, to do animal experiments. So he's catching all these dogs for them. Now, none of the dogs obviously there survive. They all die at this laboratory. And the guy that works there said, "Oh, we've got loads of used specimens there. Can you dispose of them?" So he takes them on a trolley and takes them out. And it's on the way. And we then sort of see him taking the remains of these dogs down towards the sewers. And he goes into one of the sewers and he sort of walks through this dark sort of sewer with a torch and a shopping trolley with all these dog bits and dead dogs. And then he throws them into the sewage water. And one of the dogs lands on the side, doesn't actually go in the water. So he has to climb down the ladder. And he then sort of kicks the dead dog, into the water. And then he sees that the sewage is blocked. And by this time, we've just seen that our alligator's opened his eyes. And he's there. So this guy then sort of climbs into the water, the pet shop owner, to move this rubbish out the way so this dog can sort of like float away. And then we see the croc approaching him in first person view with Jaws music again. And then he succumbs to his end as this crocodile then sort of kills him. And then we see this leg floating about in the water. So once again we're back at the sewage place where all these, we see the police officer there trying to investigate, see who this is. And then they find the shirt, the Hawaiian shirt, and the police officer recognises it as being the pet shop owner's shirt. So he knows it's the pet shop owner. So they've identified one of the bodies that are dead, but the other one is not sure. So the police officer goes off and talks to a sewage worker who's busy at his job to see, because one of them's gone missing. So they think it's him. So he goes off to talk to him. Then the police officer goes to this laboratory and starts talking to the people there about what they do with their waste dogs that they're experimenting on. Do they ever end up in the sewer? Well, from then, the guy's in denial. Said no, they'll cremate, they'll burnt, and cremated sort of thing. And then we catch the guy that works in the laboratory speaking to the boss of the factory, saying, you better cover this up properly because the police are now investigating and it could something be up. And then we see the police officer at a press conference talking to the press because obviously we've been finding dead bodies and that in the sewers in this town. And they want to know who it is that's doing it or what's happening. And that's all I'm going to tell you. So are they going to find out that it's an alligator living in the sewers? And not just any alligator, he's huge because he's been living off these dead dogs and stuff and stuff that's been chucked down into the sewage. And also he's been living off probably homeless people that might live down there, people that work there. And so it's got to a size. So is he going to go on a rampage on the town? Or are they going to discover him and catch him and move him elsewhere? Or is he going to be like killing everybody in the town? And who knows? You need to watch it and find out. What do I think of Alligator? It's awesome. It's an amazing film. It's such a cool film. It's another great 80s animal horror flick. There were loads coming out in the 80s and 90s about alligators, sharks, spiders, all sorts of things. It was sort of like, that sort of it, but mainly because of Jaws and Piranha in the late 70s. And it just sort of got really popular, these sort of films. And it's really, really cool, good fun. The pluses of this DVD, Anchor Bait, it still looks really nice. And it's got the 80s look to it. And it's still got some grain in it, which I really like. It's an amazing cast, a really strong cast, and it's really, really cool, well acted. The story's pretty cool. I like the premise of the story, and the effects are quite cool. And there's some good gore in the film. The minus is I don't like the laboratory story bit because of the dogs sort of being experimented on. You don't see really much of that sort of thing going on, but I don't like that sort of storyline. So that's the only negative part in it for me. But apart from that, it's amazing. So I'm going to score Alligator an excellent watch and give it an 8 out of 10. It's a great, great film. If any of you guys seen it, if you have, let me know down below what you think of it. It's a really cool film. There were loads of sort of like animal sort of films coming out in this period, like Prophecy and Alligator. There were just loads. We were just inundated with films about sort of killer animals, arachnophobia, and all this kind of thing. But they're all cool fun. I don't think they're a detriment on the animal. I just look at them as a piece of entertainment. I still love animals. I love crocodiles. I love spiders, as you know. I don't look at them as a threat or don't scared of them or nothing. So it's just the individual person, really, isn't it? Anyway, I hope you like this little review. Next up, we're going to look at a more modern killer croc film. We're going to be looking at Crawl. So that's our last killer croc in this week's film. So look out for that. Until then, check out some horror channels for me. Check out Horror Hands, Horror Geek, Man v Film, RS Design, Pizzlewell. I am the Ice Lord, Sarah of Horror. Cat watches horror movies. Grumpy Andrew's Haunted House. And a massive shout out to that Lemon Lord. So until the next one, don't flush crocodiles down the toilets. Look after yourselves, and I really hope I'll see you all soon.